The story begins in Berlin, the capital of Germany. Here, a man sent by demons, Devil, is speaking with his advisor about how they can spread evil throughout the world. He doesn't look like a typical red-horned demon, but appears just like an ordinary man, whose mission is to raise the flag of evil across the globe. He also has a daughter named Lilith, who often spends all her time annoying her father. One day, when Devil returned home, he saw that Lilith's teacher was tied to a chair, so Devil got very angry. He freed the teacher and scolded Lilith harshly. The teacher said he wanted to quit the job, but he was forced to continue. Actually, Devil wanted Lilith to follow in his footsteps so she could eventually take his place. Devil said they could lead humans down the path of evil without using magic. Now, Lilith had been training for quite some time to become a bad person and push others toward evil. She was eager to put that training to use. But Devil told her she couldn't leave hell before turning 18. That night, Lilith went to Devil's room and made him an offer. She said she wanted to spend 1 year among humans to prove she was ready to corrupt them. Hearing this, Devil agreed to the proposal, but only for a week. If she could prove herself in that time, she would be allowed to continue living among humans. After striking the deal with Devil, Lilith was sent the next morning to a school in a small town. Her mission was to lead a girl named Greta down the path of evil. On the way, Devil gave his daughter a ball called Lochner that could measure how much evil was in her emotions. Devil said the ball should always remain black. If its color changed, it would mean goodness was growing in her heart. When Lilith arrived at Greta's house, Greta and her mother Sybil welcomed her warmly. In fact, Lilith was to stay at Greta's home for the whole week. That evening, they all sat down for dinner together, which was prepared by Greta's father, Gabriel. After dinner, when everyone was about to clean the dishes, Lilith asked Greta to pass her the plates and then deliberately dropped and broke them. Suddenly, Sybil came into the room, and just then, Greta took the blame for the broken dishes. Lilith was shocked to see this. Greta's parents treated Lilith with so much love that she couldn't believe humans like them existed. Later that night, while talking to Greta, she learned that Greta had no friends. She also noticed a boy's photo stuck inside Greta's cupboard. The next morning, Lilith refused to go to school by bicycle and forced Greta to take the bus with her instead. On the bus, Greta greeted her classmates, Melanie and Daria, but they ignored her. Then Eddie and his gang got on and started bullying some kids. Eddie even stuck chewing gum in Greta's hair, which made Lilith decide to teach him a lesson. She filled her mouth with Melanie's perfume and, using a lighter, blew a flame that singed Eddie's hair. Terrified, Eddie curled up in a corner of the bus. When they reached school, Lilith noticed a crowd of students and the principal, Mr. Penhoff, gathered around a building. Penhoff, who was also Eddie's father, was trying to talk a boy named Samuel down from the roof. When he threatened to call the police, Samuel finally climbed down and returned to class. That day, the teacher gave a test, but Samuel didn't answer a single question and walked out. While the others were busy writing, Lilith searched the test online and copied all the answers word for word. Just as she was about to submit it, Greta noticed Lilith had written answers for Test A instead of Test B. To save her, Greta snatched the sheet and stuffed it into her mouth. Outside the class, Greta explained everything to Lilith, saying that if she hadn't chewed up the paper, the teacher would have caught her cheating, and she'd have been expelled on her very first day. Later during break, Lilith spotted the boy Greta had a crush on, Carlo. But the problem was, Carlo was a playboy who flirted with a new girl every day. Greta admitted she never had the courage to confess her feelings to him. That's when Lilith came up with a plan. She approached Carlo and offered him money to take Greta on a date. She gave him half the money up front and promised the rest after 3 days. If he broke Greta's heart so she would realize he wasn't right for her. Carlo agreed and went to talk to Greta. Meanwhile, Lilith went to Samuel, who had caught her interest. Just then, Eddie showed up, accusing Samuel of stealing his watch. But Samuel managed to run away. Lilith mocked Eddie, who then ordered his gang to teach her a lesson. But she used a signboard to beat them up, leaving Eddie fleeing in fear. Later, Samuel took Lilith to a cafe for coffee. He told her he had already bought a ticket to Berlin because he was planning to leave the town. During their conversation, Lilith mentioned she had never seen the ocean. So Samuel suggested they climb the bell tower to get a view. It was Lilith's first time entering a church, and the moment she stepped in, she felt chills. When they reached the top, they saw the ocean. Samuel kissed Lilith, but she panicked, pushed him away, and ran. That evening, she told Greta everything. Greta noticed Lilith had changed and realized she might be falling in love. but Lilith refused to accept it. She took out the Lochner her father had given her, and to her horror, its color had begun to change. Right then, her father called and told her he had fired a worker who fell in love, as love made demons weak. To distract herself from Samuel, Lilith decided to help Greta prepare for her date with Carlo. Greta had never worn such clothes or makeup before, but when she saw herself in the mirror, she smiled and thanked Lilith. Suddenly, they heard a voice outside. It was Samuel. He had come to talk to Lilith. She rushed to the rooftop to meet him. Samuel apologized for kissing her without warning and asked if they could go on another date. Lilith declined and went back to her room. The next morning, Greta's mom stopped her from going to school in such fancy clothes. Even when Lilith defended her, Sybil made both of them change into frocks. At the bus stop, Melanie and Daria mocked their outfits. Eddie even tried to set Lilith's hair on fire, unaware she was the devil's daughter and immune to fire. Without turning back, Lilith punched Eddie so hard he fainted. Then she told Melanie and Daria that Sybil was a famous fashion designer working in New York. That day, Lilith took pictures of Greta, photoshopped them, and created a fake website to convince the girls that Greta was wearing designer outfits. During break, Lilith bumped into Samuel, who asked her to go to the beach with him. She agreed. Meanwhile, Melanie and Daria, impressed by the fake website, asked Greta for her frock. Later, Lilith gave Greta a makeup kit for her date with Carlo. Then she stole Eddie's bike and, after figuring out how to ride it, met Samuel at the beach. They played and relaxed by the ocean. Samuel kissed her again, but this time Lilith didn't push him away and gave in to her feelings. Meanwhile, Greta was in the school auditorium with Carlo. When he found out Greta sang in church, he invited her on stage and was moved by her beautiful voice. The girls started rehearsing together until Professor Siddell interrupted, informing them that the director had banned Melanie and Daria from the festival due to an inappropriate video of them found on YouTube. The principal said they were a bad influence. Back at the beach, Lilith and Samuel were eating ice cream when Lilith saw multiple messages from her father. She realized her love story was about to end, so she ran away from Samuel. Later, Carlo walked Greta home and asked her to join his band. As they were about to kiss, Greta's father Gabriel arrived and took her home. Greta cried in her room, and Lilith comforted her. Greta thanked her and said she was lucky to have a friend like her. That afternoon, while helping in the garden, Lilith told Greta about the deal she made with her father. She said she would soon have to return because she was losing her evilness. But Greta hugged her and said she'd help her do bad things so she wouldn't have to leave. The next day, they brought dresses for Melanie and Daria. As Greta stepped out, she bumped into Carlo, who tried to complete their interrupted kiss. But Lilith pulled him aside and said she wanted to cancel the deal. She told him not to play with Greta's feelings. Carlo, surprised, said he wasn't faking anymore. He was genuinely in love with Greta now. He returned Lilith's money and told Greta the truth. Greta was furious when she found out Lilith had paid Carlo to break her heart. She said, "I never imagined you'd stoop this low," and walked away. Later, Samuel messaged Lilith and she met him at the beach. There, Samuel folded his train ticket, sealed it in a glass bottle, and threw it into the ocean. He said, "I've decided not to leave this town because I don't want to be away from you." Lilith realized that Samuel was even ready to give up his dream of going to Berlin for her. Panicked, she tried to change his mind because she didn't want him to sacrifice his dreams for her sake. So, she deliberately started saying harsh things, that meeting Samuel was the biggest mistake of her life. Because of him, she had become weak and lost control over her emotions. Eventually, after breaking up with Samuel, Lilith walked back to school with tears in her eyes. After school, she saw Greta getting on the bus, so she followed her. On the bus, Lilith confessed that she really liked Samuel, but still left him. When Greta asked why, Lilith said that if her father found out she had fallen in love, he would never allow her to stay in this city. To that, Greta said, "Well, who tells their dad before falling in love? Who needs permission for romance?" Then Lilith showed her the Lochner ball that could measure emotions. According to her father, it was supposed to stay completely black, but now it was starting to turn pink. Lilith, frustrated, said, "I tried so hard to be evil, but I'm just not like that. What should I do? My father is coming tomorrow to take me back." Greta understood her pain and decided to help her. On Saturday, there was going to be a music competition. Greta's parents brought both girls to school for it. That day, there was also a charity drive, and Gabriel decided to donate a giant zucchini he had grown in his garden. Greta was carrying the zucchini inside when she asked Lilith where her father was. Lilith said he should be arriving soon. Just then, Greta bumped into Melody and Daria. She told Lilith to go inside and save seats in the auditorium, while the three of them discussed their secret plan, which they were about to carry out at the show. Soon, Carlo came to talk to Greta, and Melody and Daria slipped backstage to prepare for their prank. Carlo then found out that the three girls had planned to get revenge on the principal. Meanwhile, he and Greta took the zucchini inside. Backstage, Melody and Daria sprinkled itch powder on the participants' costumes. At the same time, the devil arrived at the school. As he walked through the halls, people moved away from him. They could sense his dark energy. Finally, he reached the auditorium, and Lilith went and sat next to him. Professor Seidel then invited Principal Penhoff onto the stage. The devil asked Lilith whether she had succeeded in leading Greta down a dark path. Lilith felt bad. She didn't have the answer he wanted. The devil told her he was deeply disappointed. Meanwhile, Penhoff began talking about his trip to Africa, but soon the audience started laughing. Confused, he turned to see something completely different being projected behind him. Angry, he shouted at Professor Seidel, not knowing that Carlo was behind it all. Penhoff declared that the prankster would be expelled. Then came the musical performances, and one of the band members, Eddie, came on stage wearing a red cap. Penhoff told him to remove it, and when he did, everyone laughed at his burnt hair. Seeing this chaos, the devil felt proud of his daughter. So far, everything at the festival had gone wrong. As Eddie's band began to perform, the itch powder kicked in, and all the members started scratching wildly and ran off stage. But when the devil noticed Greta wasn't in the audience, he suspected she was behind the whole mess. Suddenly, the curtain dropped, and Carlo played a track, letting Greta and her friends begin their surprise performance. The principal tried to stop them, but the girls kept dancing. Enraged, Penhoff punched Professor Seidel, but this time, Seidel hit back, knocking Penhoff unconscious. When the devil saw Greta, the smartest girl in school, dressed like that and dancing on stage, he was thrilled. He praised Lilith for her work. After the performance, Greta publicly thanked Lilith for giving her the courage to follow her heart. She said that without Lilith's support, she wouldn't have been on that stage. Then she threw one of her mother's designed dresses into the crowd, and the schoolgirls rushed to grab it. Sybil, watching this, was overjoyed to see how much the girls loved her designs. During the break, the devil walked with Lilith in the corridor and praised her for her efforts. He believed even his most experienced demons couldn't have led so many people astray in such a short time. Before leaving, the devil asked if Lilith was truly ready to live and work among humans. Lilith said, "Yes, I'm ready." He asked to see the Lauchner ball before giving her the final card. Nervously, Lilith took it out, but even while holding it, the color didn't change. She was confused. Then, he asked her which city she wanted to go to, and Lilith replied, "I want to stay here." So the devil handed her the card and left. Greta came running over and asked if the plan had worked. Lilith told her the good news: she was staying. Greta hugged her in joy. Then Lilith asked whose idea it was to ruin the festival and found out that Greta was the mastermind all along. Lilith was still puzzled why the Lauchner hadn't changed color. That's when Greta revealed she had secretly covered it with black nail polish. Lilith laughed, impressed by her friend's cleverness. Later, Greta apologized to her parents for wearing those clothes, and Sybil praised her performance. Greta then went straight to Carlo and told him their plan had succeeded. Finally, the two kissed for the first time. Samuel, seeing all this, got up to leave, still upset with Lilith. But Lilith stopped him and apologized for all her mistakes. She finally confessed her love, and Samuel forgave her. He decided to stay in the city with her. In the end, Lilith used her powers to burn his train ticket. So, everyone found their match. Happy endings all around. See you in the next video.